Okay. So, this video is quite simply to... I'll tell you what happened. So, Twitch has decided that I can only have a maximum of like 500 letters in my bio, my about me sort of thing. So I can't put anything about my mod list in there, unfortunately. So you'll have to refer to this video, which will eventually be on YouTube, to get my my mod list. So I'm going to be talking about my mod list. This is going to take a while to do, and we're going to jump right into it. So put this bloody water down here. Mess everywhere. So, first one is I'm using the Unofficial Patches. Everyone will know what these ones do if they're into modding, and anyone who doesn't even play Oblivion but knows about mods will likely know what these do. They basically fix a ton of bugs, mostly bugs that we've never really noticed. Some bugs have been fixed that were obvious in the game, but most of them are just like really tiny bugs that would definitely be overlooked. Would make no difference if they were fixed or not. Hence why there is probably easily 10,000 bugs fixed in these patches. There's a lot of bugs, but you know, they do a lot of hard work on these bug fixes. Apparently I've heard some things about these patches that they're actually quite, well, bad. They've got bad coding or something in them. But I'll use them anyway because a lot of the mods will require you to have these installed. I could, go and make a dummy ESP to put him... Anyway, we're going to go through mods anyway. Let's shut up about the unofficial patches, but I like to use them anyway because they fix a few annoying things. Like Oblivion will have a thing where you'll notice once you go, let's say you got to 100 acrobatic skill, right? Well, there's a bug in Oblivion where the higher you jump, the more likely you are to take fall damage. So if I was to be 100 acrobatics, be a master at acrobatics, and then I enchant myself with an item that gives me even more acrobatics so I can jump even higher, I will take fall damage, guaranteed. So the good thing about the unofficial patch is that it fixes things like that. So you can jump as long as your acrobatic skill, it works like in Morrowind where your acrobatic skill determines how much fall damage you can take, how likely you are to take it, how far high you can jump, how high you can fall from before taking fall damage. So that's what the patch does. It does what it attempts to do exactly what they believe Todd Howard intended for you to do in the game. If these bugs weren't there to change all that made it very weird. Hence a Bethesda game. So anyway, so Oblivion losing my religion, full. I don't know too much about what this mod does, but I do know that it makes all the chapels so much better, and it really makes the chapels feel more like what the Empire should have had, what the Cyrodiil should have had, because Cyrodiil is the home of the Empire. It's based off the Roman Empire, hence the Greek gods, the 9 gods, the god of death, the god of the sun, stuff like that. Akatosh being the god of the sun. And Oblivion losing my religion makes it so it's more based on the proper Roman Empire, the Greek gods. So it's a really beautiful mod. It gives you more to do. it doesn't just make religion a chapel. It does a lot more to religion than what Bethesda actually intended for you to have religion with, which is basically a chapel and a guy with, or a chick with, healing spells, and that's about it. That's and a blessing. But is very poor. It was very poor with the church. I really felt like that should have been its own proper faction. And Oblivionful, I think, attempts to make it a faction, like a proper faction that you can become a priest in, but we'll see. I don't know if it's that good yet, but it definitely has factions, because they're inside the chapels. There's not sort of like these guardians they have in the chapel that have a sword and armor and all that, and they look very good. Anyway, Oblivionful using my religion does that. So let's move on to the patch I've got for Knights of the Nine DLC. Interestingly enough, is if this wasn't in the proper order, I would not know what this is for. But this is a patch for Knights of the Nine DLC for Losing My Religion. So Losing My Religion was intended for the vanilla game without the DLCs. So this patch makes it so Knights of the Nine now incorporate Losing My Religion. Weather All Natural. So, Weather All Natural is a very popular mod. Most people will have used it, or have used it, use it still. It's quite a good weather mod. It's the best one you can get. Unfortunately, there's never been very good weather mods for Oblivion, and this is the best one you can have, as far as I know. And why it's the best one you can have is because it has it's very heavily scripted, and the scripts will make it so the weather is somewhat consistent. So the weather is consistent between cells. So in a vanilla Oblivion, you will notice that every time it starts raining, whether what cell you're in, whether you're in exterior or interior, once you go through especially the city gates, once you go through a city gate, the rain will stop, and it will even go clear as day, and then when you go back out another city gate, it will start raining again. This mod fixes that, where it will always stay consistent even when you go. And the best thing about this mod is that when you go into an interior with windows, or even without windows, you will hear and see rain out the windows. So it will make the interiors act like exteriors in that way, where it has weather attached to it. Now there's a problem with Weather All Natural, where a lot of the scripting is quite unquote crazy. Some modders who know the mod have looked at the scripting for this mod, and they said it's got a crazy amount of scripts, and it's not done very well, unfortunately, which is why it has a few bugs. So sometimes the scripts fail to trigger. The scripts fail to trigger sometimes, and you will still see the rain sort of stop, and you'll think, oh, the rain has stopped now, but then you go through another cell and the rain is continuing, and it's very weird. But sometimes that happens with Weather All Natural. It's not perfect, but it's the best one so far, because it has the interior weather, and it has consistency most of the time. So it's very good. There's no other weather mod that's done this yet. One mod was sort of a weather mod, and it just added interior weather, and it was sort of this mod was based off that mod. I can't remember what the name of that mod was. Okay, so the rain patch is basically for Weather All Natural. You have probably noticed, and everyone has probably noticed this bug. This is a very interesting bug that was even in vanilla Oblivion, and I think Oblivion, the unofficial Oblivion patch, actually originally fixed this bug. But when you go along the road to Kvatch, past Kvatch, before you pass the road to Kvatch, when you're on the way to Anvil, you'll notice somehow, for some reason out of thin air, it will go stormy in a second. Like as you go through, as you pass a certain point, a script will run, some bug will trigger, and it will go stormy in a second. Like it will be clear as day, and then all of a sudden storm straight away. It is the most bizarre thing to witness, and most people have witnessed this with Weather All Natural. What Weather All Natural does, because of its crazy scripting, it initiated that bug again. It made it come back to life, which is another mod that does that as well. Not with the weather, but another bug. And yeah. So the rain patch makes it so that doesn't happen. So when you go past Kvatch, it won't be just storming all of a sudden. It will have the same weather consistency when you pass that point. So that I haven't really tested this patch out entirely, so I don't know how effective it is, but people have thanked the modder who patched this, and so I'm guessing it's really good. Oscuro's Oblivion Overhaul. So here I've got the BSA. So the BSA, that's all the assets in a compressed file. And Oscuro's Oblivion Overhaul, quite simply, it's an overhaul that makes it more like the Morrowind leveling system, where not as your character leveling, but the leveling that affects the world space, the game. And in Oblivion, you will know that Oblivion will scale to your level completely, like absolutely scale to your level, to the point where bandits will no longer have leather and tattered weapons anymore. They'll actually have really expensive gear that you wonder to yourself, how did they get that expensive gear, and why are they bandits anyway when they could be just selling that gear to like we're talking about glass and Daedric armor for crying out loud. They could go to a city and sell that and never have to be a bandit again for a very long time. So why are they wearing such amazing armor? And it doesn't make any sense. It's crazy. No idea why. So Oblivion has those problems. Also, it has a problem where when you get to a certain point in the leveling, certain creatures will no longer be present in the game. Like they'll almost completely disappear. So you will never have wolves anymore. You'll have timber wolves, but you won't have the regular wolf anymore. You won't have rats anywhere. Like rats will still be in certain dungeons, of course. Not many of them. Rats will seemingly disappear most of the time. Imps will completely disappear except for one dungeon. Things like that. And it makes it just makes it so unimmersive. It makes it very unimmersive, the vanilla leveling. And Oblivion, Oscuro's Oblivion Overhaul fixes all that. It does a whole lot of other cool things too. Things that I haven't even discovered. It adds a ton of unique, very, very expensive, very high level items in very high level dungeons that are very far away from society. So if you go into a dungeon that's considered a big dungeon, and it's because there's I think 3 levels of dungeons in Oblivion, where there's a small dungeon, which is usually a low level dungeon, a medium dungeon, and a high level dungeon, which is very big, and they're the best dungeons. And those ones will contain the high level creatures, the high level NPCs, the high level vampires, all the really tough things that when you're at level 1, you go into those dungeons and you'll just get killed. They'll just wipe you on the wall, you know. Skir's Oblivion Overhaul essentially de-levels you from the world. It keeps you from the world leveling to your scale. So it works more like Morrowind. Yeah. Morrowind is not exactly like a Skir's Oblivion Overhaul though, because Morrowind is a bit different again. It slightly levels to your level, but not entirely, which is probably, some people can prefer that, but I personally like an environment that just does not scale to your level, because it's supposed to be a D&D game. You know, that's what Arena was all about. That's what Elder Scrolls was originally about. It was about D&D, dungeon crawling, you know. It was all about that, you know. It's about role playing, it's about free choice, it's about all sorts of things that Bethesda have gradually fallen away from. And Todd Howard has done this, where it's all about, you know, he basically just tries to make games that the current generation will love the most, which is the new generations of gamers, because most people aren't really into Dungeons and Dragons anymore, and unfortunately we have to use mods to make Elder Scrolls games the way they were supposed to be back, you know. Anyway, that's the reason for all that. But that's a Skir's Oblivion Overhaul. Skill perks description for a Skir's Oblivion Overhaul. That's just basically a Skir's Oblivion Overhaul changes a lot of things, and one of those things is skill perks. It will change how they work, and the descriptions will be detailed for a Skir's Oblivion Overhaul, even though I don't think that it is accurate, because I've got another mod that adds on to Skir's Oblivion Overhaul. Custom Golem meshes. Now, a Skir's Oblivion Overhaul doesn't just add things like cool things that I mentioned, it also adds golems and things like that, and anyone who knows a golem, if familiar with Minecraft, will know what a golem is. So custom golem meshes makes it so, because a Skir's Oblivion Overhaul used a mod that was very old, that's very old now, that added golems to the world, and unfortunately they looked exactly like Atronachs. They looked exactly like recolored vanilla ice Atronachs, you know. They all looked the same, just different colors, and that was very silly. So the custom golem meshes are basically, now they've got their own look, and they all look really awesome. I've seen them, so that's cool. Custom golem meshes, and Skir's Oblivion Overhaul adds a ton of creatures too. Creatures and sort of NPCs and stuff, so it doesn't just overhaul the leveling system, it does a whole lot of other things too. Creature spawn chance. Now this is going to be a bit hard for me to describe. So in vanilla Oblivion, Oblivion will not only just scale to your level, each spawn point will pretty much have a bug where that particular spawn, wherever it is on that world, will only spawn that one kind of creature. And what this one that does, creature spawn chance fix, is it fixes that bug so that it will be more random. So if you go down to that certain alleyway or that dungeon, or that, you know, it's usually in the wilderness, you won't just find that same wolf anymore. You will find something else. It'll be probably an ogre. It'll probably be all sorts of things. And with the Skir's Oblivion Overhaul, this makes it so awesome, because this is a fix that really a Skir's Oblivion Overhaul should have already fixed. But maybe because it was such an old mod at the time, they didn't realise all of Oblivion's problems yet. Scuro's Oblivion Overhaul extended without extra spawns. Yes, indeed. This mod is very awesome. Scuro's Oblivion Overhaul Extended is a add-on, a massive add-on to Triple O that greatly change it. Well, I wouldn't say greatly, but it changes a lot of stuff that the mod author thought needed to be changed to make Scuro's Oblivion Overhaul more up to date with today's standards. So it adds a whole lot of lots of creatures from what's it called, creature diversity mod. For those who know what creature diversity is, you'll have zombies that are Argonian zombies, orc zombies. You'll have a female lich. You'll have things like that Scuro's Oblivion Overhaul Extended adds. And really what the extended mod is a compilation of, I think, 2 mods. And that's the creature add-on mod for Scuro's Oblivion Overhaul and the items add-on that add a ton of items to make it more for people who wanted to use FCOM, and it was intended for FCOM users to be able to instead of having to go through the horrible process of trying to install FCOM and get it running, they can just add in this simple mod that adds all these creature diversity and all these cool creatures to Scuro's that it should have had in the first place. And heaps of items like armor, robes, clothing, and that's what Scuro's Oblivion Overhaul Extended does. It does all that sort of stuff, and it adds really awesome things. Actually, I haven't even checked see if anyone's watching this right now, because this is a stream. We've got one viewer. Hello, whoever's watching. This is very informative, I know. Lots of this cool modding scene. This will help Oblivion become more of a get in the spotlight and get people thinking, well, these mods are pretty cool, maybe I'll try and mod Oblivion myself, So this is actually good, it's working. Anyway, so yeah, Scuro's Oblivion Overhaul Extended, very cool add-on to Scuro's Oblivion Overhaul. And then we've got Scuro's Oblivion Overhaul Shivering Isles full mod. You can guess what this does. Basically the same thing, only for Shivering Isles, but this is a very interesting one because it's actually made independently from Scuro's. It doesn't actually require Scuro's to work, so you don't have to have Scuro's Oblivion Overhaul if you don't want to have this with Shivering Isles. Don't ask me why you wouldn't use it, but yeah. It was not a very well loved mod for a long time until recently, when the author finally came in and fixed a lot of the bugs that it had, and it had some very game-breaking bugs, unfortunately, some crashes, and it was like bloody Cathedral built. I even had to get rid of Cathedral built because it just makes the game too unstable. So Scuro's Oblivion Overhaul Shivering Isles does very awesome stuff. It overhauls everything, gives new equipment to Saints and Seducers, adds new creatures, stuff like that. I haven't even checked Shivering Isles. I should actually see if it's all running okay. I don't have any mods that affect Shivering Isles, and I purposely didn't because this obviously will be incompatible with a lot of mods that affect Shivering Isles. So Shivering Isles I disable us. Basically this is just a little patch or patch that removes the modded eyes that apparently this mod adds to the Saints and Seducers. So when you're using the Oblivion character overhaul, you will have the vanilla. It will have the disabled eyes, so modded eyes can work, if that makes sense. So if you have, let's say you weren't even using Oblivion character overhaul, you were just using an eye mod that you liked with so that affects Saints and Juices, but then you wanted to use triple O Shivering Isles, well, they would conflict. So the eye disabler gets rid of that mod, that tiny addition. I like the way Shivering Isles share Goroth regalia looks, so I used the Unreplacer, which basically makes it so he has the vanilla Shivering Isles regalia. So because I like it, I don't like things that are too... And Shivering Isles is very dear to me. Like many Oblivion players, Shivering Isles was just so good. Such a good DLC. And even after so long, after not even knowing that Shivering Isles was a thing, when I finally played it, when I discovered that little strange island, and I didn't kind of know anything about Oblivion at that time, and I didn't even know it had DLC. I didn't even know what a DLC was, because I was so used to playing games without DLC. And so I discovered Shivering Isles, and it just blew me away. It was so strange, it was funny, it was just awesome. It's still awesome, it's still very dear to my heart. Book jackets for Oblivion, high res Bane. Bane just means it's compatible, it's a package meant for Rybash to bash up and bash to bits. And book jackets, basically, in vanilla Oblivion, all the vanilla books don't have book jackets, which is very odd for a game that was supposed to be, which is a downgrade from Morrowind. Morrowind had book jackets coming out of our ears. Sorry, but in vanilla Oblivion, they took that away for some reason, which is very strange. So book jackets makes it so they all have book jackets. I chose core assets, obviously. So hang on. So thing is, this for some reason this was grey, so I had to select them myself. So I selected core assets, core book jackets, filter version, maximum compatibility with Knights of the Night. A lot of mods seemed, and unofficial patch, a lot of mods, some mods weren't intended to have even the DLC, because maybe they were so old that most people didn't have the Game of the Year edition yet, or it came out before the Game of the Year edition came out. So that's why I chose that. You can have the bloody books, so dried blood on bloody books. I didn't really want that, because I thought just add too many, might add incompatibilities and stuff like that. Series Golden, I don't know what that even does. I probably didn't read the mod description properly, but it, Tome of Unlife unanimated, that's pretty cool. So this makes it so all of these special books that had book jackets are vanilla again, and the Tome of Unlife is vanilla as well. So, or maybe it's not, because it only just says unanimated, so it doesn't say vanilla. So it's probably just the modded version, but unanimated, which you don't want to have things like that, because Oblivion is a very old game, and when a modder gets too ambitious and wants Oblivion to do something extremely cool, that the engine was never intended to do, you can do it with Skyrim. Skyrim's okay, but because Oblivion has very, very bad coding, awful coding, absolutely awful coding, which is why it's very hard to mod Oblivion properly. And it also is very old, so those two in account, you have to be aware that when it comes to modding Oblivion, you don't want to use really cool stuff, unfortunately. But don't worry, because most of the mods that are for Oblivion are extremely cool anyway. You just have to not be too, well, greedy. You don't want to, even a mod that was fully intended for Oblivion called, it's a combat mod, what's it called? Deadly Reflex. It's a very gory mod, one mod that I can't definitely not use and not be banned for on Twitch. It's very gory. It's a very good mod, but even that mod causes stability issues with Oblivion, because Oblivion wasn't meant to have decapitation, hands being chopped off, all sorts of things like that in vanilla combat. No way. It could never. It just forces Oblivion to do things it never was intended to do, and when you do that, Oblivion crashes, or it has oddities, and it's not good. And it gets bugs, new bugs, and it's just a mess. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm not using that. Better cities. Those who have been watching my streams so far will know that Better Cities does an incredible thing to all the cities of Oblivion, making them better. Really, this should be called a lot better cities. It's just really awesome, and it only gets better. It's originally it was good, but it wasn't as good as it is now, and it was also more unstable than it is now, because Better Cities, well, it's a compilation mod. So Better Cities is a compilation mod of many mods that affect cities, and they're all patched together by this wonderful author called Vorians, and he's an awesome modder. Very awesome. I think Better Cities is absolutely amazing. It isn't perfect though, and many people, don't like Better Cities because of this and that, but certain things about Better Cities is very dated. So you'll have some strange modded NPCs, which I think are cute anyway. I just love that sort of stuff, it doesn't matter. Yeah, anyway, Better Cities has has a few issues where the NPCs for the mods that were used are not made very well because they're so old. We're talking about the start. We're talking these mods. These NPCs are so old. They were made way before Skyrim came out. Back in the Oblivion days, in 2007, maybe even 2006. They're so old, so modders didn't really know how to, and they abandoned their mod for ages. And originally Better Cities was called something else. It's called Banana Split Better Cities. Don't understand where the banana split came from. Maybe it was someone. Maybe that was originally the author and Vorians took over, who knows. Better Cities update, oh yes, I haven't finished describing Better Cities, sorry. So Better Cities adds lots of clutter to, and that's another reason why people don't like Better Cities. It adds lots of clutter, and if you don't know how to stabilize Oblivion very well, you'll have very low FPS. We're talking lower than 30, which is unacceptable to a very large amount of people these days, because the expectations for mods these days is 60 FPS at least. Some people want 120 FPS, but with Oblivion, you can't have a very high FPS anyway, because the game wasn't intended to have more than 30 FPS. It actually wasn't. So yeah, Better Cities does things that make Oblivion, hiccup a little bit, but even you use the other mod that I'll describe later, the stability mod and graphics extender, you won't need to worry about those things anymore. So you can use better cities and unique landscapes and all that, and it'll be fine, as long as you know, be aware, very aware of what mods could conflict with these two mods, because Better Cities especially is very incompatible with a lot of mods, you know, because it changes heaps in the cities. So if you add something like a house, a new player house in, you know, the Talus Plaza district or the Elven Gardens, well, you have to expect that, you know, it's not going to look good, because it's going to be missing. It's going to be all over the place and all messed up, because the Imperial City has been changed to make it look better. So Better Cities, yes, but there's a lot of patches that Vorians does. He's a very awesome modder. You know, if you ask him for a patch, you know, if he finds time to do it, he will do it. You know, he's just awesome. He's an awesome guy. So, Better Cities is awesome. Better Cities Triple O Patch hotfix. Now, man, I'm so sick of this mouse. Hotfix, okay. So, Skewers Oblivion Overhaul patch. The original patch for Better Cities is very outdated, so Vorians made an updated version of the patch, and it just makes it so it's a lot more compatible to the current version of a Skewers Oblivion Overhaul. So he even said himself, the mod is extremely the patch is outdated and broken. That's what he said himself. So he made this patch. Awesome work. Thank you very much, Vorians. You are awesome. Such an awesome bloke. Anyway, Cathedral's texture fix, and the reason why I put it down here is because, well, I discovered with Oblivion losing my religion that for some reason sometimes the textures for the windows outside the chapel, the front, especially the front windows, the big windows, are all missing textures. And Cathedral's texture fix is a little patch that does something to fix the bug where the textures are somehow missing, and the mod doesn't know how to, you know, call up those textures and use them. So this little texture fix, it's old. See, that's the thing. Skewers, I always say that. Oblivion Losing My Religion is a very old mod. Very old. So it has certain issues like that, but at least it was fixed. So let's just hope that it's actually fixed, because I haven't tested it yet to see if those chapels are actually fixed. It probably is though. So Cathedral's texture fix does that. Awesome. I don't need this mod anymore. This is just here for reasons. Better Cities Coral Chapel Fuel Lights. So, man, let me tell you something. Better Cities doesn't, for whatever reason, it fixed the coral. It didn't fix, but it changed the coral chapel entirely to make it more look rich and more wealthy, and make it more appealing to people that are, because coral is supposed to be the rich person's place, which is why you have to have a certain amount of fame before the Countess even considers you to buy a house there. And Better Cities Coral Chapel Fuel Lights, well, the original, this patch is no longer needed because it's just no longer needed. Better Cities Coral Chapel Fuel Lights. And I think the reason why I don't need it is because I'm losing my religion anyway. So, anyway, they were already taken off. The lights were already taken away, because there was heaps of light sources in the Coral Chapel, and it dramatically reduced the FPS till it was about, -10. it was horrible. It would even crash the game. You couldn't even really go in that chapel because it was just so disorientating, which is very bad. So some dude came along and made this patch. Well, not really. It's not really a patch, but it's a fix which greatly decreases the amount of light sources and the amount of lights in that chapel, which for some reason they decided, oh, let's just add all these lights and make it beautiful. Yeah, RIP FPS frame rate. Anyway, this came along and fixed that, and then Revorians decided to incorporate this fix into the next version of Better Cities, which got even better. So, Better Cities Vanilla Hair. So, for some reason, not just in Breville, which is what this mod does, a lot of the modded NPCs will have, modded hair, because back in the day, these mods, they're so old, but they're so good still. They still hold up today, and not quite. They've aged a little bit, but they've become relics of the past. But back in the day, people liked to try and make the NPCs look prettier, and when they did that, they didn't just try to make them look prettier with the face gen and everything. They tried to give them like this really extravagant, beautiful anime kind of hairstyles. For some reason, back in the day, even when Oblivion Character Overhaul came out, they did that. They put all these really, really funny hairstyles that didn't actually age very well. And it used to look really good, but doesn't really. Yeah. We prefer the vanilla hairs to these modded hairs anyway. And besides, vanilla, and for some reason the modders haven't worked out how to make a modded hairpiece actually have length slider. So they don't know how to do that. I don't even know how to mod, so don't even ask me. So this makes it all vanilla again. Unique Landscapes Compilation. Now, I talked a lot about Vorian's Better Cities, and the same mod author made a compilation mod, a massive compilation mod, that overhauls pretty much all the areas in Cyrodiil in the wilderness. And he's made patches for Better Cities, of course. This is Unique Landscapes Compilation. This doesn't just make the landscapes unique, it also makes them unique in the sense where some people who saw this mod when it first came out said, these aren't unique, this is just green hills and whatever, there's no volcanoes and stuff. It's made to be lore friendly, guys. It's meant to be lore friendly. And any area that's not mentioned, or that the game was limited to because of the engine, a lot of the landscapes in Vanilla Oblivion are very bland. They're not very unique. Other than Blackwood, there's no real uniqueness. The only unique places you get is Bruma, Anvil, the Gold Coast, and that's not even that unique either. It's just got yellow grass everywhere. And then you've got Blackwood, which is near Black Marsh and stuff, and which is marshy and stuff. You don't have any sort of areas like in Skyrim where it looks brilliant. Those really nice views you get in Skyrim. That's what they tried to improve on, and they fixed a lot of things in Skyrim that Oblivion didn't have, and Unique Landscapes does all that. It makes them unique. It does have the same issue where it will clutter a certain area to make it look very stunningly beautiful, but unfortunately the FPS is just yeah, so there'll be just tons of flat Hello again, guys. Sorry about that. That was my headset going flat, and I've been talking for so long. This is gonna... How long has this already been? 45 minutes, and I haven't even gotten halfway through. Some of these mods, man, they just add so much cool stuff. So, just bring this up again. What was I talking? Unique landscapes. What? Is it already open? It is too. Okay, so unique landscapes makes everything unique, very beautiful, very awesome scenery. Some areas, yes, will give you low FPS, but I don't think that's a deal breaker in my opinion. There are very few areas that actually do that, I've discovered, and with the stability mod that I use, Oblivion Reloaded Lite, or Oblivion Reloaded by Alanet, you don't have to worry much about unstable FPS and FPS dropping all the time. You won't have to worry about that anymore with Oblivion Reloaded. So, unique landscapes compatibility patches, which adds a lot of patches for all sorts of mods. These are the patches that a lot of these mods are old, but still very awesome. And you'll just see all these patches that are made. The list is just heaps. I'm only using very few patches, and what this compilation patch does is it automatically detects any mod that you have that are that has the same exact ESPs that these boxes have, and it will tick them. So it will detect it for you and just install all the patches you need for unique landscapes. OSPS Better Cities Imperial Oil Patch. This is a very awesome patch that doesn't just fix something with Better Cities. It also has other, like Talus Bridge Mod Patch. I don't know what that stands for, but it's very awesome. You'll have all sorts of patches here. Not too many, but they're very awesome. So we have merged version, separate version. Don't know what those two versions are for, but maybe for that mod here. I don't know what this stands for. RRLR. I don't know. So that's what that does. So what OSPS Better Cities Imperial, the main thing I use it for is this one patch, which is the what's it called, the Imperial Oil Patch. And basically what this does is it patches an option that you use in the Better Cities installation process, where the aristocratic district, as it once was known, is the diplomatic district, and it has its own district outside the Imperial city, and it's added on to the Imperial Oil. Obviously it will be incompatible with unique landscapes, so this patch fixes that. Anyway, that's all you need to really know, because Better Cities also adds an extra district to the Imperial Isle or the Imperial City. You can either choose it to be seen outside, which is very more immersive, or not be seen, which is not so immersive, or maybe you just want it to not be seen because it saves on FPS. I don't know, but yeah. Okay, unique landscapes mid-resolution meshes. Yep, this is very awesome, this one. So when you use mods that don't have, so when you, this is going to be hard for me to explain. Let me just get my thinking cap on. Okay, so when you have mods like Better Cities that adds the aristocratic district or the diplomatic district outside the Imperial City, and it has the patch that adds some clutter that patches it all, like rocks and stuff that don't have a mesh, when you go far away from that patched environment, you'll only see the aristocratic district or the diplomatic district with completely floating in the air sometimes, because the patched land that's from that patch isn't being shown because it doesn't have a LOD mesh. Mid-resolution meshes does that for you. It puts in those, it finds meshes for the ESP, and it creates those meshes for you. And this unique landscapes mid-resolution meshes is basically for that. So if I use any sort of mod that has, if I even make my own patch that's not even that, you know, and I use this tool to find the meshes for it, it will create the meshes for it. So when you go far away, it will look realistic and you will still see those meshes. Really awesome. Better dungeons. This mod, in my opinion, is the only really, there's yeah, better dungeons just makes the dungeons better, makes them more unique, because the problem with the vanilla dungeons in Oblivion is that better dungeons basically fixes a problem where a lot of the dungeons felt the same. All the dungeons, there was only like 3 types of dungeons, 3 types of forts, 3 types, maybe 2 types of forts, 3 types of, no wait, 1 type of alien ruins, and stuff like that, and 3 types of caves. And it was terrible because it became very repetitive, especially with, and I wish there was a mod for this that fixed this, but especially with the Oblivion gates. You'll notice there's only about maximum 4 or 3, I think there's only 3 types of Oblivion wastelands. That's the realm of Mehrunes Dagon, and there's pretty much only 3 types, and it's very repetitive. Better Dungeons fixes that for the dungeons, makes them, you know, interesting, has a few new areas that are different, and it's completely compatible with Oscura's Oblivion Overhaul. For some reason, it's never needed a patch. And I've got the better dungeons. Yeah, that's some notifications, don't worry about that. So that's the better dungeons. Should probably close this, close window. I didn't think about this. Quit Discords, just so, because there might be some private stuff that shows, so I shouldn't be showing that stuff. I keep forgetting, which will probably one day turn one of these videos into a meme, which I don't really care, honestly. I don't care if I become a meme. Maybe. Anyway, Better Dungeons does all that for dungeons. There's another mod called Snooze Dungeons, which is very ambitious. Turns a lot of the dungeons into what Skyrim style standards has, and unfortunately I don't like using it, because, you know, it also has lots of FPS issues, because, you know, you're upgrading the thing, you're forcing Oblivion, which was made in 2006. This engine was made, it's a Morrowind engine, for crying out loud. It's a very old engine, and it wasn't upgraded enough to have the standards of a game that was made in the far future. Like, Skyrim was greatly updated, and the engine for Skyrim was so much better than Oblivion, and, you know, it's natural. That's just what happens over time. Games get better, technology gets better, and when you make a mod like Snooze Dungeons, or, you know, that's very ambitious and very awesome, unfortunately with old games, it poops itself. And that's why I won't use Snooze Dungeons, which is compatible with Better Cities, which comes with its own patch, but I'm not going to use it because Better Dungeons is good enough for me. And that's the thing about Oblivion modding, you have to consider these things. And yeah, Sounds of Cyrodiil, looks like sock, full version. So I don't know. Yeah, Sounds of Cyrodiil add a lot more ambient sounds to the environments, and things like, you know, people yelling out to each other in the distance. You'll hear people yelling outside, like they sound like they're inside houses and buildings. And when you go into certain cities, you'll hear lots of coughing, and in certain areas like bars, and, you know, burpings, some really funny stuff. And a series of, I mean, I always say that. I always think of Ascuras, and I don't know why. Sounds of Cyrodiil does that. It makes everything more immersive, so you can hear those funny little things. It's very atmospheric, and it's very nice, if you're into that sort of thing. Mehrunes Razor add-on that makes it so Mehrunes Razor has Sounds of Cyrodiil, Thieves' Den, Knights of the Nine, and yeah, so all of those DLCs are now have those sounds. And yeah, Sounds of Cyrodiil also adds dungeon sounds. They're very dated now because it's a very old mod, but I love it. I just love old mods, I do. And then we've got better saves. Better saves, basically, yeah, better saves. Saving in Oblivion, there's a few problems around saving in Oblivion, and this is why you're going to need this mod. This is mainly a stability mod, and it's a convenience mod too. Basically, this will add in, you will turn off the vanilla. You have to turn off the vanilla auto-saving because it's bugged, it's broken. Don't use them. If you're not using better saves, don't even use the autosave feature or the quick save feature in Oblivion, because they are very bugged and they will cause lots of save corruption. Even overriding a save in Oblivion causes save corruption sometimes, and you should never do it. Always make a new save and delete the previous save if you don't need it anymore, because there's two things you have to mainly worry about, and there's several ways you can achieve these very bad things: save bloating and save corruption. Which is save bloating happens where, you know, save bloating can happen with several reasons, because there's too much clutter in the world space over time. When you've completed a lot of quests, when lots of memory is stored up in your saves, especially with cluttered weapons from bandits you lost in the grass and stuff like that, that will cause save bloating. And better saves helps it so the saves won't get corrupted so easily and won't get bloated so easily. So that's better saves. Enemies keep weapons in inventory. This is a stability mod. You will want this for two reasons: the stability, so saves don't get bloated, and well, mostly won't get bloated, and what's the other reason? And because it makes it so makes it feel more immersive, in the sense where because in vanilla Oblivion, when a bandit dies, the weapon gets completely detached from their inventory, so it will just be a clutter on the road or the landscape, and you won't even see it through that grass, so it will be just left there forever. And when the body gets cleaned up by the engine, which also has its own bugs, by the way, which is not very efficient at what it does at all, which can also lead to save bloating, it will leave the weapon behind. And you need weapons kept in the inventory, because it will avoid lots of save bloating. The next mod. Oh yes. This one's very good. This is the best, in my opinion, and a lot of people who discover this mod, it wasn't very popular, because a mod maker made it that wasn't very popular himself, but it's called Prince Shroom's Main Quest Layer. does exactly what the name suggests. It delays the main quest, which gives an alternative beginning, sort of alternative start to your character, and it will make it so the Emperor Uriel Septim will still be alive, and you can approach him in his palace, and he'll even go to his room, which is not really his room, but Chancellor Arcado's room, because there's just a few reasons why that had to be done. There's stability problems. So Chancellor Arcado and Uriel Septim, they're basically blood brothers. So Uriel Septim sleeps with Chancellor Arcado. This mod makes it so, I've even seen it. Uriel Septim will sleep with Chancellor Arcado. So, yeah. Yeah, no words to describe this, but yeah, it's pretty funny. Then we got the main quest delayer with Knights of the Nine incorporated because, yeah, so it delays Knights of the Nine as well, I think, or something like that. It doesn't really delay that, but anyway. So we got main quest delayer, and that does that, and the reason why this one is my favourite main quest delayer is because you can pretty much do the main quest whenever you want now. With alternative beginnings, it does the same thing, but once you get 10 level fame or infamy, suddenly the main quest happens, and regardless of where you are in your character, you are forced to start the main quest now because you're suddenly more powerful or more, famous or more infamous. Doesn't make any sense. But that's that mod. I don't really agree with all that. Should at least have an option where you can have a slider or an ini file to decide how popular or infamous you have to get before the main quest initiates. But you can always not even do the main quest anyway. Most people aren't bothered with it, but I am. I'm just one of those very picky people that have to have things a certain way. So we've got that. Real-time lockpicking. So yes, this mod doesn't just make it so the time. So when you lockpick a door or a chest or anything, and everything freezes and you see the mini game. This removes that mini game, which is incredibly hard, by the way. Oblivion has a very big lockpicking problem, and that's basically because the minigame is very hard at low levels. Extremely hard. You could break, if you don't know what you're doing, you'll break easily all your lockpicks just trying to unlock an easy lock. I'm not kidding. Because there's several ways people have finally cracked the low level minigame, and basically, if you haven't played Oblivion, you'll see the mini-game of the lockpicking, and there'll be 4 teeth going down, and it's like a modern lock that it's used these days, which doesn't even make sense because this is medieval period where those locks weren't even around then, so I don't know why they decided to even use this mini-game, but it'll have the 4 teeth, and you have to use the lockpick to push up each tooth like this until it's all unlocked. But you've really got to understand, it's very hard to describe. It's so hard, it's hard to describe all the little ins and outs that you've got to consider at a low level to be able to hit up at each tooth, each tooth in the key hole. And if you fail even one of the teeth and it slams down again, it will break the lockpick. Simple. If they added in like a health bar for each lockpick, then like if it could handle just something like that, it would have made it a whole lot easier, but they didn't. So real-time lockpicking makes it so it's works like Morrowind now. So you get a lockpick in your hands, like a weapon, and you just hit the you left click the near a door, and he will or she will unlock the door like this. It will have a randomized attempt depending on your level, depending on how often you can, yeah, like Dungeons and Dragons basically, yeah. So it will make it so it's Dungeons and Dragons where it's a dice roll. Each time you attempt to hit that lockpick and unlock that door, it will have a dice roll depending on how many times you break the lockpick and and when you succeed unlocking the door. So real-time lockpicking is awesome because it gets rid of that headache. So now we've got set essential actors. This is just something personal for me. I like a set essential actors to save those really cool NPCs you don't want to die, but they shouldn't die in your opinion, because, in my opinion, because, you know, Mizoga dies for some reason. She becomes unessential once you start a certain quest with her, and it doesn't make any sense. She's supposed to be this battle-hardened orc, and she just dies because she, you know, the NPCs were too high level. Well, set essential actors adds a spell to your inventory, requires OBSC, and you just hit a spell on them to make them unessential or essential. Brilliant. Lots of people don't use this, and even streamers won't use it because they feel, oh, you know, it's cheating. It's not cheating. It's just not cheating. It's not. Not in my opinion, anyway. So that's set essential actors. Very cool. Atmospheric Oblivion. Well, you can guess what it does. You can even see here. It adds sound effects to Alien Ruins even more. It's completely compatible with Sounds of Cyrodiil. It adds just a lot more sounds to, not that many, but it adds a lot of thunder and stuff, makes the thunder sound really awesome. Stuff like that. It's basically just sounds, and it's really cool. And that's what Atmospheric Oblivion does. It just makes everything sound more realistic, make it more immersive. It does the same. It's like a lightweight mod to Sounds of Cyrodiil. Anyway, Necanimal's awesome vampire mod. Now, here's the thing. If you're an Oblivion player and you love vampires, you will know that Oblivion Vampires suck. I mean, no pun intended, really. They suck, the big one. And the reason why they suck is because they have basically 3 very useless powers in your spell effects. They have a massive drawback, which is getting sun damage when you're in the from the hours to like 5 a.m. to about midnight. I'm not kidding. Sun damage will take effect on you until midnight, so you'll only have a maximum of 5 hours in the morning to be able to roam freely, which is completely stupid. So Necanimal's awesome vampire mod makes your vampire very powerful over time. You'll grow in the ranks to become an ancient vampire eventually once you get very old, and your age determines on how many times you fed when you were hungry, not when you weren't hungry. You can't just sit there and drain the life out of an NPC and become an ancient vampire. No. Every time you start to get hungry, you feed, and it will add a blood point to you, and those blood points will add up until you become an ancient vampire. And once you become an ancient vampire, apparently you can even become like a demon thing, where you can fly around. I'm just guessing it's some sort of special kind of imp sort of mesh, and you can just fly around like an imp. And you're not always like that, of course. It's just a power you get. You can also have things like feed on an awake NPC that's standing. So in vanilla Oblivion, another drawback to being a vampire is that you had to feed on only sleeping NPCs, and that makes it very inconvenient. Very inconvenient because, yeah, You had to break into someone's house. You had to feed on them. You couldn't even feed. You can't even feed on guards. So they're all what. Yeah, it's just very inconvenient being a vampire in vanilla Oblivion. It's just not worth it. No one even bothers to be a vampire because Oblivion, it sucks the big one. So that mod does all those cool things. Skeletons. Now you might be thinking this mod adds skeletons to the game. No. This is a maximum compatibility skeleton, mainly used for body mods. So basically body mods and stuff will work with NPCs now. So that's what this does. It's just a skeleton for your character, for your NPCs, the internal skeleton, which is the mesh that holds the textures to it. So yeah. Then we've got Oblivion Reloaded Light 74 or 7.4, whatever. And this is Oblivion Reloaded Light. Basically, this is a graphics extender that is an alternative version from Alanet's version. Has a few oddities, but I'm very, very, very happy with GBR Plus's version of Oblivion Reloaded. In fact, it doesn't matter which version you're downloading, and you can support the Alanet or GBR Plus if you believe in the project, and I do. And I love Oblivion Reloaded. My goodness, it stabilizes Oblivion so much. Because of Oblivion Reloaded, we won't need to worry about getting the Oblivion on Xbox Series X, because we can have modded version that's just as stable, and the stutter is removed, the FPS is stable and high. It's always at 60 now, and it's not supposed to be at 60 according to Bevilex. It should only be 55 max, because there's certain bugs that happen when the FPS is too high. So yeah, I've seen it. I've seen people crash very often if they have 120 FPS. It looks very good, but it will crash the game because the game is not intended to have any more than 30. So Oblivion Reloaded does all that. It's very, very awesome, very essential. You can see it's the same mod here, but test version. I've been testing this mod for GBR Plus. Unfortunately, it got to a point, very saddening to have to admit this, but the Oblivion Reloaded Light has now become incompatible with my selection of mods, so I can't go any higher than 74 at the time of this video, at least with this mod, but that will probably be fixed anyway, because you can't have a graphics extender that's incompatible with so many mods, especially that you can't even launch the game. But anyway, so that's that. And then we got Oblivion Character Overhaul. Yeah, so Oblivion Character Overhaul, it was a very, very awesome face mod that overhauled the face and hair, and it made everyone look very nice looking, and it was a bit lore friendly, not very lore friendly at all, but in terms of the face and everything, it was sort of lore friendly. But Oblivion Character Overhaul, basically this makes NPCs look better with their face, because we all know Oblivion has potato face syndrome, and that syndrome was very, very prevalent in the latter days of Oblivion. Once people realized, by the time we got Skyrim, we realized Oblivion just has terrible faces. It really does. Even back in the day, not long after it came out, I remember looking at these NPCs and I thought, they look so just ugly. They just look so, just no one looked good. They all looked ugly. especially the women. Oh yeah, and I got this mod to fix all that. Now the problem with the original Oblivion character overhaul, like I said, had in my previous video, it added in this face gen. Oh boy, this video, man! How long? Oh, an hour and 15 minutes. Woo. So, Oblivion character overhaul added in this face gen, where it made all of the faces in Oblivion look a lot prettier and a lot better, more handsome males, more prettier females. Unfortunately, it made the mod very incompatible with every modded NPC. Even its own DLC, even Oblivion's own DLCs conflict with this mod. But yeah, so it added in this face gen that was very incompatible, and it made all the NPCs look pretty much identical to each other, which is very immersion breaking. But don't worry, this is where the next version comes in. Oblivion Character Overhaul Compatibility Edition. This is the modded ESP version, which removes the modded hair that looks very dated these days. Some people like it, but I don't. It's not lore friendly anyway. The hair looks a bit silly, in my opinion, and it also removes the face gen that made all the NPCs look like models and all related to each other, almost identical to each other. So they now use the vanilla face gen, which makes this whole mod really shine, which makes them all have those unique faces, but also look better. And it's really awesome. It really is. I love it so much. And yeah, you can use any modded NPC pretty much as long as it's not a new race. With this mod now, it's really awesome. So that's what that does. And then we've got the Oblivion Character Overhaul Volume 2 Bashed Patch iFix. I didn't use this only because I was a bit worried that it would conflict with the eye disabler in Shivering Isles version, but I don't know if it was the reason. Could have been my load order. Anyway, that's a little fix for the dark eye problem with the bash patch. It makes, unfortunately, the shadow gets cast on the eyes even when the face is lit up, and it makes everyone look almost like they have almost black eyes sometimes. But yeah, anyway, that's that. I should probably use it, honestly. Then we've got the HGEC texture compatibility add-on, which is basically a compatibility for eye candy mod for female body, and basically it's a compatibility added by the mod author of Oblivion Character Overhaul. The same thing for Robert's male body replacer. It's got that one as well. Then we've got Oblivion Character Overhaul Vanilla Height restored. Yes. Now, most people would not agree with me about this, but those who love the lore, at least the way it used to be, was that the lore was these races were a certain height. Like the male Bosma was even shorter than the female Bosma because it was supposed to be that way. But the mod author didn't feel like that should be the case and made the male Bosma tall again, which makes them almost as tall as dark elves, which I don't agree with at all. So I don't like that. So I liked the vanilla height restored, which is the Oblivion Character Overhaul vanilla height restored back to the vanilla level. That's another thing the mod did and I didn't like. So yeah, it does that. I honestly thought it was actually a bug when I first discovered that. Hey, wait a minute. Thorinir is tall. Why is he tall? Didn't feel right. Didn't feel Oblivion. Then we've got Oblivion Character Overhaul Volume 2 DLC Faces patch. It's not really a patch, okay? And it really has nothing to do with Oblivion Character Overhaul Volume 2. It has nothing to see. The DLC faces for some reason just look like absolute arse. You always see that guy, you know, the dude, what's his name? I don't know his name, but he sits at Way, where the right next to the Imperial Bridge on the way to the Imperial City. Will sit on that crate, and he has a face like this. You know, it's completely stuffed. His face is sagging. It's horrible, and it's a problem with the vanilla game. It's not actually a problem with the Oblivion Character Overhaul at all. So this little patch fixes their face gen to make them look normal now, and the way Todd Howard probably intended them to look. It'll make them stop having sunken eyes and melted faces and stuff like that. It's just weird, but that's what this little thing does. Ah, yes, Oblivion Races Unlocked. This is a little mod that allows you to be able to have the Mazkin and the Oriole, which are the Golden Saints, with the Dark Seducers and Golden Saints from Shivering Isles, as a playable race, as well as the Dremora and female Dremora. So you will be able to use those races, those vanilla races, but they're unlocked now. Unfortunately, it's not working properly, and I don't know why, but yeah, it's really awesome. So if you want to be a Dremora for whatever reason, you can use it. I just use it because I want to see if the Golden Saint and Seducers have, you know, okay eyes, as well as the Dremora, because sometimes you can add these mods in that really destroy their eyes, and I don't know why. They will either have googly eyes or their eyes are out here, you know. Yeah, it's a little bit something I don't really understand what triggers it yet. Now we have voices for female Dremora. So what? Okay. So what? Ascura's. I don't know if Ascura's Oblivion Overhaul does it, but see, there is such thing as female Dremora in Mehrunes Dagon's realm, but for some reason you never see them except for one. And because they weren't intended to really be in the game, Todd Howard didn't give. It's all Todd Howard's fault. He didn't bother giving the female Dremora a voice or, you know, sounds. So this is what this mod does for Ascura's Oblivion Overhaul. It's no longer available on the Nexus anymore or anywhere. And I'm not going to share it with anyone because the modder feels that it's not fair that Nexus did what they did, and a lot of really awesome modders left Nexus. So I'm not going to share this mod with anyone, unfortunately. So if you ask, I'm not going to share it because the modder felt like it should be taken down to sort of punish Nexus Mod Manager for being greedy for money, basically, which I completely support, honestly. So unfortunately, yes, this is a lost mod. I have a lot of lost mods, by the way. Lots of old versions of mods and sorts of things like that. Yeah. But yeah, voices for female Dremora, very awesome. Unfortunately taken down. And I'm still using it because I downloaded it before, you know, it got taken down. My Grey Prince. This is a problem with Oblivion Character Overhaul again. It has a lot of issues, Oblivion Character Overhaul, and you have to use all these fixes these days. But My Grey Prince, what this does is it returns the Grey Prince to look grey, or well, blue, as he was in the vanilla Oblivion. So it uses those vanilla textures again. And see, in Oblivion Character Overhaul, it doesn't just overhaul the face and even the body, but it doesn't overhaul the body to make them look better, but it overhauls the textures of the body and the face. And in if you use Oblivion Character Overhaul, the orcs will look better, but they will also look darker. Unfortunately, the vanilla orc texture, which is bright green, looks like a boogie, or a booger, as Americans say it. It just looks ridiculous and looks like Shrek. So, Oblivion Character Overhaul fixes that, but it also unfortunately made the Grey Prince look like a regular orc. He talks to you like, oh, it's kind of silly. I made it no secret that I'm only half orc. He looks like an absolute damn orc. So, my Grey Prince makes him like my Grey Prince. Makes him better. Like the vanilla. So he'll look better, but he'll have the vanilla textures. Works with body mods too, as long as you have the appropriate patches. Mystic Emporium Fix. I don't know if I need this anymore because I have the Compatibility edition. But another problem with Oblivion Character Overhaul was that the Mystic Emporium would have that bug again. So in Vanilla Oblivion there was this bug where when the Wizard's Tower DLC was added into Oblivion, you would have to go into the Mystic Emporium and unlock that door inside up those stairs to allow Calendir or something to barter because it wasn't his door anymore. It was the DLC. It was just so stupid. I don't even know why they did that, but they should have just made it so Calendir had the goods for the Wizard's Tower, not this extra NPC that has no story, no dialogue, just says how are you and barters with you. She has the goods. But this makes it so he will own that door again. And it had something to do with his face as well. So when you fix it with the unofficial patch, the unofficial DLC patches, when you add in Oblivion Character Overhaul, it would revert that fix back to the vanilla, because it was intended for the vanilla game, and it would make that bug happen again where you can't go in the Mystic Emporium because it's never open. Even NPCs can't go in it, and you can't barter with him either. So this fixes that, and it does work still. I don't know if I need it anymore, to be honest, because I've got the Compatibility edition, which has the vanilla face gen. I probably don't need it anymore, but I use it anyway. Anyway, we've got HGEC. Yeah, that's just basically the eye candy body. Makes lots of people will know this mod. It's a bit better bodies for females, make them look nicer. Then we've got Vampire Morphs. This is a really cool little mod, and I don't know if it's a mod. Yeah, it's a mod, but it adds a mesh to the morphs so that you can choose whether they look angry when they're hungry, when they're no morphs at all, so they don't morph at all, or they have really angry eyes, or they show fangs. I choose show fangs because, my goodness, they look creepy when they're showing their fangs. I'm not kidding. They look so creepy. They look scary. It actually makes vampires look scary in Oblivion, as long as you have Oblivion Character Overhaul and stuff like that. So we got that morphs thing, and then we've got seamless Oblivion Character Overhaul Volume 2, which is basically what seamless does is it makes it have, so it's become a lot more than that. It removes that seam that they have at their neck, so you'll always see that seam right there at their neck and their wrists and stuff like that. Seamless actually removes that, and it comes in and I've got that, and I've got seamless Oblivion eye candy core, and I selected this got wide hips and oh yes. Anyway, And then we've got ZKEC wide lace. So that means that's a add-on for eye candy, where it makes the women look just a lot better, and it's an add-on to make them look more realistic. This comes with the underwear, and I chose lace because it looks nice. And then we've got the seamless Robert Mail. Now Robert Mails, especially this seamless version, has everything you need for the males. So there's so much effort put into the males than the females, unfortunately. and the males get all of this stuff. I'll just show you all the options. So look at all these options for the types of bodies, the types of feet, the textures even. And yeah, so I chose all of that. And I'm using, not just using Robert's Mail, but I'm using it says nude, but it's not actually nude. The circumcised is nude. No idea why he's still calling it nude. I don't understand. It has underwear. You've even seen me play this game. They all have underwear. But anyway, I'm using muscular, the normal muscular body. And what else? I'm using that hobbit feet, but they're not big hobbit feet. They're just slightly bigger. So with Vanilla Oblivion, the males had small feet, and hobbit feet make them have masculine looking feet. And yeah, I'm using that type of underwear, and Oblivion character oval core, using all that. Anyway, now just very OCD. Now I've got Oblivion. I've got Ascuria's Oblivion Overhaul, Shivering Isles, compatibility patch with the I don't know what this mod is, but I know that HGEC is the eye candy mod, and that makes, because apparently it's incompatible with body mods too. So I'm really worried about what the NPCs look like, honestly, because I'm hoping, yeah. Anyway, that's a compatibility patch. Then we've got Ascuria's Oblivion Overhaul Extended compatibility patch with HGEC and Robert Mail's body mods. Then we've got Northern UI Away Vanilla Style. Northern UI is a UI mod, of course, but it adds one thing that Oblivion never had that should have, and that was controller support for the PC. A lot of the times in olden days, when we weren't born, and we wore satin clothes. No, that's not true. Anyway, in olden times, PC games never had controller support. They never did, because that wasn't a thing. It just wasn't. Most people played PC games to use it on the PC. That was a PC game. It was just on mouse and keyboard. Several reasons why you shouldn't use mouse and keyboard though. And even though it's superior to controller, and it is, it's not healthy for your wrists. Having your hands like this all the time eventually creates carpal tunnel, and I don't like to. And the thing is, you can't fix this, because the special mouse like this is very hard to navigate, and when you're playing a game, I've heard it's near impossible to control your mouse and press those buttons so rapidly, and yeah, it's just weird. So yeah, maybe one day we'll have a special, I don't know, maybe a mouse that sort of lets you claw and hold onto it like this, and you can press those two buttons easily. Then maybe that will happen. It's because your hands needs to be, like this, holding a controller, very relaxed, and and that's why I use controller mod, because one, and the other reason is not just because of the carpal tunnel thing. I also have a problem with playing PC games on the mouse and keyboard because I'm not used to it. I grew up on console games, so that's what that does. It's really awesome. All of these mods are red because I haven't installed them. And then we've got Crash Logger, that's just something for modders to see why I've crashed, and I just installed it only because the author of Oblivion Reloaded Light didn't understand why this new version of Oblivion Reloaded Light was causing crash to desktop before the Bethesda logo was finished. So yeah, but we couldn't figure it out. Anyway, that's what that does. And that this more bash tags for mods. More bash tags for mods adds in bash tags for mods. And anyone who knows Rybash very well will know what bash tags are, and they're basically tags for Rybash to use on ESPs that are modded, and it will be able to properly mash or bash the mods together to make them very compatible, because in Oblivion, in these old games, when you mod them, they have a lot of compatibility issues, and this is why you must use Rybash or Rymash for Morrowind, because it will solve a lot of problems. But I've heard that Mod Organizer 2, when tweaked properly, it can work with Oblivion without issue. But anyway, Rybash is the easiest to, unless you're very used to using Mod Organizer 2, use Mod Organizer 2. But Rybash is very good for out of the box for anyone who's never touched Mod Organizer. Rybash is quite easy to use, as long as you follow a simple tutorial first, because there will be a few things that will make you scratch your head, because it's not as convenient, because it's a lot more powerful and very awesome than the Nexus Mod Manager, which is now outdated. Vortex is pretty good, I've heard, but it cannot be used with Oblivion. Don't use Vortex with Oblivion or Nexus Mod Manager. Don't use them. They just won't work. You will be able to install new mods with Vortex and Nexus Mod Manager, but a lot of the old mods, like Better Cities, and a lot of modders don't even bother having Vortex support, because it's work they don't even need to really, at this point in time, make effort with, because Vortex, it was made very like in what was it, 2017, 2018? Vortex came out in 2018, and this game is made from 2006. Do the math and you realise you shouldn't use a mod manager that comes out so late, even when it claims to have support with them. It might have support with like 2 mods on the Nexus Mod Manager for Oblivion, and then they can say, yeah, it has good support for Oblivion, but it does not. A lot of the mods, especially the old mods, do not have support. You'll need Oblivion Mod Manager and stuff like that. Anyway, this is just to show the mods. I know you might be thinking that the list is over now, but it's not. Now we've got, going to open the Oblivion Mod Manager, which I just told you about. And we've got a few mods here, and the Oblivion Mod Manager is a very old mod manager, and it's a relic of the past. It's really awesome. It still works, but you have to really know how to use it, because it's very outdated now. It's still necessary though. It's not completely out of date, but it's very necessary to install OMods, which are compressed mods, because back in the day, with the limited technology, it was very hard to mod Oblivion, and you needed to compress mods so that, just really weird stuff, do all this crazy stuff to mod a game. And yeah, so Oblivion Mod Manager was born. I've got Kerti Cleanup, which is basically what I was talking about before with the weapons in inventory mod, which helps the engine actually clean up clutter in the environments properly, instead of just having NPCs that are standing out of the wilderness like this. Because that's what will happen in Vanilla Oblivion, because they don't get cleaned up properly. Most of the time they don't. That you'll see certain bodies that will just never get cleaned up, and it will just happen. It's a bug, and it eventually leads to inevitably leads to save bloating when you've played this certain character for a long time. And Kerti Cleanup, I think that's how you pronounce his name, a modder that is no longer, I think, prevalent on the Nexus anymore or anywhere. So unfortunately it's old, but it's the only mod. It's a very old mod. It's not really a mod, it's a fix. But yeah, that's what that does. Then we've got Link. It's not Link from Legend of Zelda. This is Link, stands for something, I can't remember what it is, but the awesome Masker made Link. And Link is basically, what is it? So Link is sort of a software sort of mod, and it adds a script. Oh no, it doesn't add a script. It adds a script to the game and an extra section where you can edit mods in the game. So yeah, that's Link. It's really awesome, and certain mods certain mods. I'm getting a bit of a schizophrenic moment here. Sorry about this. I'm having a little bit of a problem. Schizophrenia is hard to live with. It is. Unfortunately, most people don't really realise how hard it is. Okay, so what Link does, what does it do? Makes it so you can edit. You know how mods come with an ini file, and you can edit things in the ini file to edit the mod. Not all mods have ini files. Well, Link is basically the idea to change the options in the mod in the game, right? So that's what Link does. I'm gonna talk any further about it, but yeah, we got more bash tags for mods. That's not necessary for me to install. I just have it there for reasons. And Night Eye shader replacement. Basically, in Vanilla Oblivion, there's a big Night Eye shader problem, and that's the fact that it's all blue. For some reason, they decided that that's what you'll see in the dark is just blue, and this makes it so you can choose a Night Eye shader of your choosing, and it's very good for vampires, and that's why I use it. And it'll have all sorts of. I can't show you because this very old mod manager won't allow me to show you, but it has. Can't really show you anything. Info. Oh yes, this doesn't look very. Yeah. Anyway, it adds a lot of different shaders, which are very awesome. Anyway, put it in its place, enhance grabbing. In Vanilla Oblivion, there was a problem with Oblivion, and that was the fact that when you grab something, you just move something around, it will be considered as a crime. So this mod makes it so enhanced grabbing will not only make grabbing better now, you will no longer be put in prison just for touching someone's item. You know, yeah. So that's that. So it will change something that makes it so you can hit an icon, hit a key, and it will hold the item for you and then hit it again to drop it. Whereas in vanilla Oblivion you have to hold onto that key and move around your mouse too. It's very awkward and yeah, wasn't very ideal. So put it in enhanced place, makes it so NPCs will say things when you move around an item and say, I hope you know what you're doing, and put that back and stuff like that, and stop messing up my stuff. And they'll even have a disposition slider. They'll even hate you if you just completely mess up their stuff and knock things around, because there's a lot of crazy scripts, and put it in its place, enhanced grabbing. Realistic leveling. Yeah. This is another problem with vanilla Oblivion, and the problem with vanilla Oblivion is that your character has a leveling issue. You have to play exactly to the way your class has its major skill set as, and you've got to make sure that you can never use actual classes in vanilla Oblivion that they're made for you. You have to make a custom class, because you have to make sure that every major skill is in line with attack, health, and agility, and all those things that will help you in combat. Because personality and acrobatics and speed, they're not really, well, speed maybe, but acrobatics and stuff like that, and they're not necessary in combat, and because of that you get to a problem with the leveling issue, which makes your character weaker as he gets stronger. As you get higher level, he'll be weaker to other NPCs because he has too high. He leveled too many times with personality. It's all because everything's scaled to your level, and it's a real problem in Oblivion. So yeah. So that's what realistic leveling does. Not only fixes the leveling issue, but it also makes it so so realistic leveling fixes the leveling issue, but it also makes it like Skyrim in a way, where it levels for you, and it chooses the correct attribute points to make it so your character is as strong as the level 50 NPCs out there. He has those advantages. Anyway, that's as far as I can talk about it. Ref scope. This is more of a tool than it is a mod, but it is a mod as well. This ref scope, what it does is it helps me to gain any form ID and NPC details on NPCs, and even items and anything I want. So if I hover my mouse on something and hold the X key and hit the space key, I will get I will get the ID for every modded armor, everything, and I can even add armor that I could never acquire. Anyway, I'll explain more. It's very hard for me right now, but anyway, we've got RPG, Black Dragons, low poly grass. So low poly grass, well, I've discussed this a little bit before. It's basically more stable grass for things like unique landscapes and better cities, so you won't stutter as much and you won't have as low FPS. It's mainly intended for people who have very, very poor PCs but still want to have grass, because in very poor PCs you have to basically turn off the long grass in Oblivion to be able to run the game. which is terrible. You shouldn't have to do that these days. So that's where this mod comes in to make it more stable. Then we got Dlc Plug-In Refurbish. Dlc Plug-In Refurbish is basically a DLC delayer. This is very necessary if you want to roleplay properly in Oblivion, because you'll have such things as, oh, there's a catastrophe. Umaril the Unfeathered has attacked the chapel, and it's terrible. No, and they're all like, no, like that. They talk about it, and it shoves its face in you. It just shoves itself in your face with the Knights of the Nine DLC. And it's very annoying. So you need the DLC delayer to be able to delay all these DLCs, so you don't get spammed. One thing, spammed with so many pop-ups, and also you can roleplay a lot better now. Now the last mod I'm going to and talk about is the Imperial Legion Volume 4 Part 3.1.0. That was a mouthful. But the Imperial Legion is a mod that simply allows you to join the Imperial Legion. For some weird reason, Todd Howard decided, even though this was Cyrodiil, the heart of the Empire, you can't join the Imperial Legion. Most ridiculous thing ever. I don't understand why they decided that was a thing, but yeah, they decided that you can't join the Imperial Legion when you're the hero of Kvatch, when you're the champion of Cyrodiil. No, you can't join the Imperial Legion. You can't be a guard. Why would you want to join the Imperial Legion for? It's only the heart of the Empire. It's only the Cyrodiil. Oh my goodness, why? Yeah, it's really stupid. But this mod simply allows you to join them, and it comes with a lot of bug fixes too, because the modder, unfortunately, even though his mod was so ideal because it's so compatible with lots of mods and doesn't add anything to the exteriors or anything, it just adds a few NPCs and certain items in vanilla barrels, and that's pretty much it. You don't even have to do its quest. It's a long quest to I could actually do the quest in the thingy whatsy in the roleplay, but yeah, it's very cool. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about the mods. Hope you enjoyed watching this video on the mods, and I will be doing a what's it called, a stream. Sorry, my schizophrenia. It's not very good right now. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this long list of mods and descriptions of mods, and thank you very much for watching, and see you guys later. Bye now.